It is, yeah, can we have the air conditioner?
Oh, you know what? It went off.
Okay. Well, welcome to Unity of Ukaipa. I have some wonderful news for you today. Do you know that the same power and presence that put the universe into their spin and inspires the wee little acorn to grow into a mighty oak tree, it is the same power and presence working in you, through you, for you, as you, right now, right this minute. And so today we move into part 6 of our rainbow series, which is why we're all wearing, well, many of us are wearing like indigo, navy blue, different shades of blue. Now, leading up to this point, we've been learning about how to walk in two worlds. So we can walk by both faith and by sight. We navigate the world that we see, but we also navigate the world of the unseen, the spiritual world that we sense. And so the first part of this journey is about understanding how our lives and our relationships and the package of our body is what helps us to learn to navigate this. Because as we're accepting the package of our life and the package of our relationships, the package of our body, we are learning about having faith in what works through us, for us, as us. Then we understand and accept. We learn to accept that love is a divine power. It's not a small thing. Love is a big cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. And when we move into this understanding that love is bigger than anything we've ever known, bigger than anything its way, this provides a bridge for us to surrender our personal will to divine will. Right? Personal will keeps us small and stuck in a place where we're comfortable, we're used to being. Or surrendering to divine will is what allows us to start moving forward and expanding our experience. Which brings us to today, Indigo, which is empowerment through wisdom. Wisdom is an activity of grace. And all the activity of spirit, whether it's grace or it's love, it is the self-givingness of spirit to its creation for the purpose of further creation, which is why we say that God works through us, for us, as us. God is working in us, as us, but we are continuing to extend that creation out into our lives, right? So this is how spirit works through us. So wisdom is also an activity of spirit, which means it's ever present for us. We just have to be willing to allow it to work in our life. Wisdom is not having information. It's not just gathering facts and figures. Facts and figures don't offer us the opportunity for transformation. But when we are coming from a place of wisdom, what we're doing is we're utilizing knowledge, the knowledge that we have, and we know how to put it to work in our current experience. Okay, so we know what to do with our knowledge, right? It's not just memorizing things. So this is wisdom, and it offers us a chance for transformation, right? When we know the next thing that we should do and we put it to work in our lives, we get to experience transformation. So we accept that love is a divine power and we surrender our personal will to divine will so that wisdom has a channel to work through, a free and open channel to work through. Wisdom is also always in love, always infused with love and understanding. In the book of James writes, but the wisdom that is from above, which is divine wisdom, is pure, and it is full of peace, and it is gentle, it is obedient, it is full of mercy and good fruits, and it's without partiality and without hypocrisy. So love is understanding, or wisdom is understanding. This is why sometimes it's called having an understanding heart, right? It will feel right. When we are experiencing wisdom, it will feel right. We will know it as the truth, and we will know just what to do with it. It's also abundant, right? It's fruitful. That's what James says. It's fruitful, which means it's always available to us. We just have to be open to receiving it. But it is always available to us. Wisdom reveals guidance about who we are. It reveals if we are living our life with purpose and through humility. Now, when we lack purpose, what happens is we become feckless, right? Have you ever just wondered or wished you had something to do, you don't know what to do, so you end up getting stuck in some kind of a bad habit? That's us being feckless, but we all always have purpose, right? Because the activity of Spirit is working through us, for us, as us, and it is extending itself through us and into all of our relationships, everybody we meet. So this is purpose. It's not just about like dreaming of being an architect and building the biggest, building, or being an engineer and building a bridge that will stand for the next 200 years. Our purpose is all ongoing. Our purpose is creating a circle of friends. Our purpose is building community. Our purpose is being understanding toward other people, right? Being the grace generator for them when they need it. That is also our purpose, because Spirit is always working through us, for us, as us. It doesn't ever just say, you know what, I'm going to be back Thursday when you're doing something more interesting. It is always working through us, for us, as us. And we also have to live our lives with humility to access wisdom, because to access wisdom, we have to have an open mind. We can't have that attitude of like, well, I know it all, and so there, you can't teach me anything new. We don't receive anything new if we don't have an open mind, right? We can't access something new. And when we're receiving wisdom, when we're acting on wisdom, and it is acting through us, you can bet we are receiving new information, because we're learning what to do with it, with what we already know, and experiencing the transformation. So we're receiving something. With wisdom, we also seek only the truth. And we cannot seek only the truth if we have a closed mind, right? Because we already think we know it all, so we're not open to learning any new truths. This is important because truth can be hard to hear. And if we don't have an open mind, it's not wisdom that we're using, it's judgment, right? And we're choosing the truth we want to hear. Wisdom allows us to hear the truth that we don't want to hear. It allows us to hear the truth that will be hard to act on. I remember when I got into holistic healing, I was probably 5 years in as a massage therapist and healer, and I realized I loved teaching more than I loved massaging. And I was like, oh, but I have to keep doing this because I'll waste all that school money, I felt like, well, I can't change my mind now, right? I eventually did, but that was a hard thing for me to face. But, I eventually was moving in the other direction. But sometimes we have a hard truth that is brutal that we have to live with. Like if you've ever had to put a pet to sleep, that is a hard truth. And that is a hard action that we have to follow up with. But that is wisdom that is allowing us to do the right thing for another creature that may be suffering. And see, wisdom is asking us to look at the suffering of others also, not just our own. This is why we have to have an open mind. So our wisdom allows us to see our life and what needs to be done, okay? Even the hard stuff. And see, when we walk with wisdom, and we can navigate that space between the physical world and the spiritual world we sense, it doesn't mean that life is always peachy. It doesn't mean that life will just always go our way, right? We hear in spiritual circles, we create our own reality as we go along. But that's not just about wish fulfillment and creating the fun stuff that we want in our lives. Sometimes it is. But sometimes it's also about responding to other situations that we don't actually have control over, right? The universe created a big life that has a lot of other people involved in it, and animals and vegetables, minerals. There is a lot involved in this life, right, on this planet right now. We cannot control how many hours are in a day. We cannot control the change of the seasons. And we cannot control other people as much as we like to think that we can. So this is about wisdom allows us to respond in every situation. Right? Wisdom is about what lets us move forward again. When we're responding to a situation and we're receiving wisdom, what this means is we have accepted the package our life is in, accepted the package our relationships are in, and accepted the package our body is in. So we will know, can I change this situation? Can I transform it? Or do I have to accept the situation and rise above it, right? We're either transforming or we're transcending. But we can only do that when we're coming from a space of wisdom. Okay, when we have the open mind that allows us to see what may be hard truths and act on those hard truths. There is a man named Randy Posh, and I don't know if you got to see the video I shared on the Facebook page, but I first saw his video. He appeared on the Oprah show back in 2012, and he was a professor, and professors have this thing that they work with called the last lecture, right? They're told, if you knew you were giving the last lecture to your students, what would that lecture be? Well, Randy, a father of 3 little kids, was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer. And so he literally was creating his last lecture. And so he wrote a book about it, but he was on Oprah and he was talking about how there's some things we just cannot change. So he said, we can't change the cards we are dealt, just how we play our hand. Randy had to accept his physical reality. He did everything he could to try to beat it, but he didn't. But he did something with that knowledge anyway. He wrote a book that he left as a legacy. He spent more time with his family, and he shared his message, which means he is a grace generator for anybody who watches any of his videos. Even though he's been gone for years now, he's still a grace generator. His message is still available to lift people who need to be lifted. Now, when I first heard of this back in 2012, I was in a place where I was struggling. And I think he had already passed at that time, he was a grace generator for me. And he lifted me out of a slump that I was in, which allowed me to see my life from a different perspective, which allowed me, because I was open to seeing it from a different perspective, I received inspiration on what I could change. I received ideas about how I could rise above the things I couldn't change. So when we come from a space of wisdom, it's allowing us to see the bigger picture. Sometimes our only option in a sad situation is to find some spiritual gifts. And that's what Randy did. We don't have to approve of the situation. Deciding to find a spiritual gift in a tough situation or tragedy, it doesn't mean that we approve of it, and it doesn't mean that we even have to be okay with it. But we do have to accept that it has happened, or that is happening. Because it's through the acceptance that we receive the wisdom that will allow us to change it or rise above it. Those are our 2 options. Sometimes the greatest act of service that we can provide to another person is to transcend our own tragedies. When we transcend our own tragedies, we move forward, we find the spiritual gift anyway, we become a grace generator that will lift others. So we're doing that for other people. So this is us successfully walking between 2 worlds. It doesn't mean life will always be peachy, but we're navigating our physical reality. We're open to our spiritual reality to receive guidance on that next thing that we're doing. It doesn't mean that our path will be rainbows and unicorns, but we always have the support of our cosmic companions. We always have the support of Spirit working through us, for us, as us. It knows what to do, how to do it. It compels us to act on what it knows. Now, Paul, in Philippians, Paul offers some guidance. Now, I think everybody's heard the verse, let the same mind that was in Christ be also in you. Right? We've all heard that. Well, actually, he said something right before that gives us some instruction on how to walk with wisdom. He says, do nothing through strife or for vanity, But in humility, see the light in others. Don't worry just about your own pain, but be mindful of the suffering of others. And then let the same mind that was in Christ be also in you. And that was how Christ embodied the wisdom also. That was how he lived his life. He acted with great wisdom, and we saw that through the choices that he made. He never struggled with something through strife, like Paul says. He didn't struggle with it. He didn't scratch his head and say, God, I hope this works. What am I supposed to do here? Anybody have any ideas? He didn't struggle with it. Instead, he approached it with humility. That he always said, it is not I that does these things, it is the Father within me that does these things. And he didn't do it out of vanity. He wasn't trying to be cool. He did it because he cared about other people. He cared about the suffering of others. That's why he had a ministry. He cared about the suffering of others. He became a grace generator. He was teaching his disciples so they could take this out into the world too, his message, so they could be grace generators. And then whoever they worked with and affected, maybe they would become grace generators too. And this is how Christ embodied wisdom. This is how he let the activity of Spirit work through him, for him, as him, which extended itself out into the world through his disciples, and it kept extending itself out. Now, when we follow the steps of the Rainbow series, okay, when we accept the package that is our life, we accept the package of our relationships, we accept the package of this physical body, and we accept that love is divine power, that big cosmic love is a sweep whose force is irresistible. So this lets us surrender our personal will to our divine will. And then the world knows us by the choices we make, because we're making choices that honor our divine nature and honor the divinity in other people. That's how we let the same mind be in us that is also in Christ. Now, so far I've just talked about some hard, kind of sad things. It's like, oh yay, I get to use wisdom to get through my suffering, right? But there's also some fun things that come with this too. And one of these things is synchronicity. When we're open-minded and we're allowing wisdom to work through us, to be present for us, so we are knowing what to do with this knowledge that we have. We know how to apply it into our life, right? Synchronicity starts happening. Now, a synchronicity, you've heard it called a meaningful coincidence. And it's an incident between our spiritual world, the spiritual reality, and physical reality. They coincide, right? It's the spiritual world meeting with our physical world. It is when the universe gets personal. The universe is coordinating the big and little wonders in our life. That is coincidence or synchronicity. When you have a synchronicity, it comes with an unmistakable feeling. Unmistakable. It will feel like, whoa, or it might even be bigger. I had a small synchronicity a few months back. I was thinking how I needed this new trash can in my kitchen. And I was thinking how the one I want is like $70 or something at Bed Bath & Beyond. And I was like, I need to search in the pile of junk mail to see if I have a 20% off coupon. They're always sending out coupons. Well, then I forgot about it, and I was visiting with a friend, and she's like, oh, I have a bunch of Bed Bath & Beyond coupons. Would you like some? And I was just like, yeah. I was just thinking about how I needed that, right? That's kind of a mild one. It wasn't necessarily transformational, but it was a good reminder of how everything is connected. Things are working together for us. Now, we got to experience a real fun one yesterday in Virginia's Awakening the I Am class. Several of the ladies started talking about Reiki energy healing. Well, there's one lady sitting there, and she's kind of like, And then she tells us, yesterday I was on the internet, and I accidentally, clicked on a link. It took me to a Reiki page. And I was reading it and thought it was like really interesting. So anyway, now she's really interested in it, but it kind of really surprised her when so many people started talking about it. And so that was fun to be part of someone else's synchronicity. And see, the ladies in that group who started talking about Reiki, they were pieces on the universal chessboard right? To align for this young lady to hear more about Reiki, right? This is how synchronicity works in our life. But synchronicity needs us to notice it, right? I'm not going to say that synchronicities never happen unless you're full of wisdom. I believe that synchronicities are always at play in our life, but if we are stuck in the past, if we are stuck in blame, if we're not accepting the package of our life or our relationships or our physical body, we may not notice when the universe places something auspicious on our path. We may not notice this. In the Native American tradition and in some other cultures around the world, there's this idea of where it's easier for us to get sick if we do not have all of our energy present. When we are not accepting the package of our life, our relationships, or our physical body, our energy is not fully present with us. Our energy goes off to where we're blaming something. Our energy goes off to where maybe we have to forgive somebody, but we don't want to. Our energy may be back at an event that happened a year ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. Now, say we only have so many units of energy. Let's say we only have 100. And say that you have 10 units out there on blame. And let's say you have 10 units on bad events in your life. There are 20 units of energy that are not in your present. So you're only operating on 80% of your energy. Now this may not seem, too bad, but would you drive your car if your engine was only 80% put together? Right? Nobody would do that. Now in the Native American tradition, they have a ceremony called soul retrieval, and they believe somebody's having trouble healing, if they're sick emotionally, spiritually, mentally, it means their energy is not all with them. And so they will do a ceremony called soul retrieval and call all the energy back to them so that they can start the process of healing. When we accept the package of our life, the package of our relationships, and the package that is this physical body, we are calling back our energy so we can be fully present. So we can see the synchronicities. We can have awareness of them. Right? So faith, this is why having faith is so important for us, because when we want to create something new in our life, we want to bring a new experience or a new thing into our life, we don't know how to get that done, or we would have done it already. Right? But there's that within us that knows what to do, how to do it, and it will compel us to act on what it knows. Synchronicity can be a guide for that how we need to do something. What's the next thing that we do? Synchronicity can also be confirmation that we are on the right path, right? Like the young lady yesterday hearing about Reiki and getting so interested in it. Annis Nin said, "We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are." This is why you can spend a lovely afternoon with somebody and come back from the lovely afternoon and you think that you had a great time, but your friend or whatever was like, "Oh, that was rough. That was no good," right? Because we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. So how are we being right now? How are we? Are we set on being right? Do we have a closed mind? Or are we open? Are we open to see? Because we know we don't know what we don't know. We know this, right? Are we focused in what's wrong in our life? What's wrong in our relationships? What's wrong with our physical body? Or are we willing to see the activity of spirit in our life, in our relationships, and in our body? And you add to that the open mind so that we're receiving wisdom. So, whatever's going on, with wisdom, we'll know what we're supposed to do. Even if it's a hard thing, but we can do hard things. We've done a million hard things already. But we'll know with that wisdom, can it be changed? Then I'll change it. I will transform it. Can it be changed? No. Then I will rise above it. I will transcend that. We are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and we have within us the power to respond to any given situation. Infinite mind is always seeking to work through us. Always. Always. It's not waiting for you to have a better day. It is always seeking to work through you. We just have to allow it. And we allow it by not attacking our life through the idea of struggle, not doing things to be cool, instead, having humility. Remembering it's the Father within, it's the Spirit within that is doing all this. It is the Spirit within, and living with our purpose, caring about the suffering of others as much as we're caring about the suffering of ourselves. Right? We let the activity of the Spirit extend through us. And it's easy if you think about the steps of the rainbow. Just accept the package of your life, accept the package of your relationships, accept the package of your body, accept that love is divine power. Right? And it's easy to go forward from that. Because from there we can surrender our personal will to divine will, and then we let the same mind that was in Christ be also within us. So, until next time, remember, you are the activity of spirit in the body. You are the eyes and the ears and the voice and the heart of God walking around in this world right now. And everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.